And once again, I'm trying to depict to us the current challenge we are facing in Nigeria with the energy situation of our country. Yesterday, we had an incredible session with Rohit, with Gloria, with Mr. Uzo Mbamalu, who gave the opening monologue. And we also had Mr. David Epion, who also spoke, during the final session. And we had some excellent moments of reflection. And today is day two, so we're hoping to see what day two has in store for us, and the opportunities we're going to be exploring today. And so we'll just have like 5 minutes to reflections, just to think of what the session has been and what the experience has been like, and what your thoughts have been since yesterday's session. Yeah, so it's reflection time. I don't know if you have some thoughts, if you have certain things to share, you could let me know. Uh, I'm still trying to depict our Nigerian situation where we're struggling with it. That's our reality here. But hopefully, with renewable energy, we'll be able to tackle the energy poverty we're facing and the challenges we've been struggling with for decades. Yeah, Olumide, I see you are here. Your session is in 5 minutes, and I see some persons here. So it doesn't. I really want the room to be dark. Give me a moment. Let me do the real job. I'm not really doing the real job. I want to really stay in the dark room like yesterday. Uh-huh. I can be that dramatic. Okay, good. I think. Oh, okay. I think I've accomplished what I really wanted. Uh-huh. It's really dark now. Good. Yeah, so this is exactly what many of our entrepreneurs are suffering, except they have a petrol generator to power them or a diesel generator to power their businesses. And we know how that can be a serious drawback for businesses across the country, and at extension, how that can really seriously affect the economic development of communities. And so we had a very interesting interaction yesterday. I'm going to give room for some of us to share some of our thoughts, some of your thoughts from yesterday. Um, I see Sultan is here. Thank you so much, Sultan, for showing up. Um, I believe some of us were here yesterday. So I would like for you to share some of your thoughts. What were your thoughts from yesterday's session on climate entrepreneurship and Nigeria's energy transition plan? If you have something to say, I would appreciate it if you use the lift of hand emoji. Uket, I think you have something to say. Okay, so looks like some of our people are yet to comment. So it's already 12:05. Mr. Lumide, your session is the first. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm going to read out Mr. Lumide's bio. Mr. Lumide, sorry that I'm reading your bio in darkness. I'm just trying to show what our people go through day after day with the current energy situation in the country, which is not funny at all. So I'm going to read Mr. Lumide's bio for us to have some background of the work he's done and who he is. So Mr. Lumide Kolawole is a dedicated climate justice advocate with a growing specialization in climate finance. With a background in finance, sustainability, and education, he actively explores how Nigeria's investment architecture can drive green bond adoption as a solution to climate change bottlenecks. His expertise blends financial research with environmental advocacy and grassroots climate action, making him a strong advocate for integrating climate conscious investments into Nigeria's economic framework. With a proven track record in financial analysis and social impact initiatives, Olumide Kolawole seeks to contribute to programs and accelerate climate finance solutions, ensuring equitable and sustainable development. So I would like us to put our hands together as we welcome Mr. Olumide Kolawole. You're welcome, Olumide.
Thank you, Mr. Chibuzo. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who has, created time to join us in this conference. While I was preparing for this session, pretty much, I was like, I mean, I had been privileged to be in the class yesterday, and I could tell from yesterday's array of listeners and speakers that we have intellect. So I am honored to be in the room of intellectuals, in the area of climate change, climate finance, climate justice, climate entrepreneurship. Again, please, Mr. Chibuzo, can you hear me? I would always do that so that I'm sure everyone can actually hear me. Once you can tell me that, I believe everyone can.
I can hear you clearly, loud and clear.
Perfect. All right. So my name, like Mr. Chibuzo said, is Olumide Kolawole. I am an investment enthusiast and also a climate justice enthusiast and a climate finance enthusiast. I have a growing work around how Nigeria and developing economies globally can very well leverage existing structures, existing solutions that can help them accelerate climate finance domestically or locally, so that they can accelerate, they can move from where they are presently in their effort to, adjust and deal with climate change issues to where they should be, pretty much in that regard. So for this session, the topic is unlocking climate finance for Nigeria's energy transition plan, and objectives at the end of this quick minute is going to, I have 4 years: understanding climate finance, the bottlenecks encountered in assessing climate finance and Nigeria's energy transition plan, assessing climate finance to bolster renewable energy projects. So let's just dive right into it because of for want of time. All right. So 2 burning questions. Okay. Is climate change a hoax or a true reality? And the second is going to be, is renewable energy truly the way to go? So the first question, what actually better the first question is, we've been witnessing in the last couple of weeks, days, events on the internet from top leading nations globally who are supposed to actually help us, get to where we desire to get to in terms of, being insulated against and maxing ourselves against the effect of climate change, coming out to tell us narratives that really are not the reality. So that's why is climate change truly a hoax or a reality? That's one. Then number 2, for the sake of, for the importance of this conversation that we're having, is renewable energy truly the way to go? So let's quickly dive right into it. Now, did you know, and this This statistics, I brought it out from a report by Climate Policy Initiative. You can check them out on the internet, Climate Policy Initiative. Did you know that achieving, I mean, there's a dream, there's a goal of achieving a global climate temperature of 1.5 by 2030. And for us to actually get to that point, we need a total of 7.4 trillion US dollars in annual climate finance investment. And this is global pumping of money into helping us get to that point where we get to become actually insulated against the effect of climate change, basically. Africa alone needs $277 billion yearly to meet its 2030 climate goal. So these are quite some striking facts that we need to, I mean, just set the pace, basically. So now, climate finance. What is climate finance? Climate finance pretty much will mean financial resources mobilized to support climate action. The goal is to become totally free from the effects of climate change, which has for a long time now been with us. So when money goes into trying to ensure that this is achieved, that is pretty much financing climate. And that's where what climate finance comes about. Available sources, we have government, we have international institutions, and we have private investors. Government, it could be the government of the country, it could be international institutions like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the international platforms basically that are interested. The UNFCCC, the private investors as well. Private investors will be the corporate giants, probably in the country. For instance, Nigeria, for instance, would have the likes of Oando Clean Energy Company, would have the likes of Access Bank, all right, leading the charge, taking lead in that regard when it comes to private investors and all. Now, what is the purpose of these funds, the climate finance? It is essentially to reduce emissions, essentially to make sure we adapt to climate change and also mitigate against it. And also, essentially, the ultimate is to foster sustainability. So this is pretty much a summary of what climate finance actually, is all about, right? So quickly, we would need to understand areas that climate finance actually, is quite particular about. So we have three, all right? And this is from my research. So areas funded by climate finance in Nigeria. And this actually, beyond Nigeria, this actually flies, internationally as well. I'm only saying it because you are looking at it from the lens of being Nigeria. This is, how can, we are trying to tailor it to Nigeria, basically. That's why we have most of this thing in Nigeria. Honestly speaking, when we take this and we apply it somewhere else, it fits and sits very well with that environment as well. So number one is emission reduction and renewable energy transition. So climate finance we essentially finance projects, works going on in the area of trying to reduce emission and trying to also help environment, geographical environment transition from what they used to know as energy to the renewable energy, that they dream to get to. And number two is afforestation and carbon sequestration. And we have number three, we have climate adaptation and resilience. So next slide, we'll talk about this in details, just in bit actually. So the first will be talk about emission reduction and also renewable energy. And like I said, because we are looking at it from the lens of Nigeria, so I'm going to, what's it called now? I'm going to pick on a state in Nigeria that is taking lead in this regard. I said Lagos State's green transport strides. With support from the federal government and corporate leaders like Oando, I mentioned Oando Clean Energy Limited the other time as one of the private, investors that are taking lead in the area of trying to support, the fight against climate change and all, locally or domestically. Lagos State is setting a strong example for other states, in tackling emissions and advancing renewable energy. In Lagos currently now we have the electric trains, we have the electric buses, we have and these two, in um um um uh, these two, what's the word now? These two interventions, right, marks a major step towards sustainable transportation, and that's true, helping to mitigate climate change impact. Now, I have here just by the side, I said investment in research and development. With the continuous flow of ideas in science and technology, there is a need for sustained investment in research and development to enhance existing green transportation solutions and drive further innovation. What I'm essentially saying here is, yes, Lagos State might be doing a lot of things already, but that doesn't mean that we can now fold our arms or assume that Lagos State has gotten to the peak of it or is now free. Like, yes, these are just the only thing that we can still very well leverage and then evolve with our solutions, present solutions. That's what I'm trying to say there. Now, because of the peculiarity of this conference being a Cross River initiative, I had to do something around that to make sure that, yes, we can get Cross River into the conversation as well. So I said cracking the Cross River code, all right? And this is about the afforestation and carbon sequestration that I talked about the other time. I said we're growing discussions on optimizing natural carbon sinks. Carbon sinks will be, natural natural, how would I explain it now? All those available places and spots that pretty much helps to absorb carbon, absorb carbon from the environment are pretty much what we call carbon sinks. So on optimizing natural carbon sinks for CO2 absorption, afforestation is crucial for carbon sequestration and ecosystem restoration. And I mean, we do know that Cross River has, in fact, the FAO actually has that record that Cross River State has the highest forest cover in Nigeria. It was while I was researching that I got to know about this. I never knew about this before now, but thank God we know about it. So that means Cross River actually has a role to play in helping Nigeria actually, get to where it desires to get to in terms of being free or against climate change impact. And making it key to this effort, afforestation, reforestation, and other carbon sink strategies play a critical role in absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. However, their impact is gradual and long-term compared to direct emission reduction. The first ones I mentioned the other time are direct impact, and they are quick measures. But when it comes to long-term measures and all, then afforestation and reforestation can very well be looked into. Because of time, I will have to just scale through this quickly. Adaptation and resilience. We talked about this yesterday actually. So our key priority is to strengthen adaptation and resilience within our primary community. That's actually the whole idea behind climate financing, to make our environment adaptable and also resilient. Despite being crucial for long-term sustainability, adaptation efforts often receive less funding compared to mitigation. And that's the essential truth. All right. Now, challenges in assessing climate finance. All right. For people who aspire to actually, get access to this finance, what are the challenges that they get to, occasionally or constantly encounter? We have number one, limited awareness, expertise, and institutional capacity. So some people don't even know where to actually, write proposals to, how to go about writing their proposals, who to submit it to, who are the people that they're actually supposed to write these proposals to request for this fund and all. Expertise lacking, institutional capacity lacking. Number two is insufficient data and risk perception. So most times with environments such as ours, that we struggle to actually come to terms, agree on data, because we don't even actually have the data in the first place. We don't actually know the right amount of resources needed, for finance needed for certain things. So it makes it difficult. Number three is restricted access to funding, and that's the truth. Number four is project development and implementation challenges. Number five, which I think everybody will agree with, is accountability, transparency, and governance issues. So that is one mighty, and I think probably should have been number one, problem in assessing climate finance. There's no accountability most times. There's no transparency most times, and governance bottlenecks, governance barriers actually often discourage people from actually going for all of this kind of um, um, interventions, available. Now we're talking about renewable energy, climate finance, and renewable energy. This is the intersection between both of them. What is renewable energy? We already know that before now. But Nigeria is peculiar because in Nigeria we actually have five major sources of renewable energy, which I got to know from my research and all. We have solar, we have wind, we have hydro, biomass, and geothermal. I didn't put geothermal in this conversation because Nigeria doesn't really have so much in abundance when it comes to geothermal. But countries like
Mm.
US, Indonesia, and all have a lot in that regard. But when it comes to solar, in fact, I had to arrange it in this way. Solar, Nigeria is top, has a lot of opportunities around that. Now, the worry of over 80 million, and I was strategic when I was making my slides so that we can all resonate with this. It is said that according to the Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria, says that over 85 million Nigerians or thereabout lack access to little access to electricity, steady electricity at all, right? So that is said about that. So yeah, the type of renewable, I just had to go further on this. Like I said, geothermal comes in here. Yeah. So Nigeria's energy transition plan, we've actually mentioned this yesterday. I will just go further on this today. Objective of this plan is pretty much to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060 through a structured transition from fossil fuels. Fossil fuel will be the diesels, the PMS and all, to clean energy sources, ensuring universal energy access, yeah, economic growth, and industrial development while addressing energy poverty. It's quite important while we know that, why we are trying to transition from what we used to know before, what we used to use before, to where we are headed to. The whole idea, the whole goal is to ensure that we remain economically in the growth paradigm, and also industrial development, and while we also address energy poverty and align with what global climate commitment. Um, so we have pillars of energy transition. All of this is just this thing. So because of time, yeah, perfect. So this point, particular slide pretty much just x-ray further on the five aspects of the transition plan. So five aspects include cooking. So the key interest of the transition plan covers this five aspects: cooking, transport, power, industry, and oil and gas. So cooking, for instance, I made mention of this yesterday when the special advisor to the governor of Cross River was talking. I made mention of this, and this is actually true. I actually goofed a little bit. I forgot while I was talking yesterday. And that was while I was reading the article that gave me this story. The Akiomi that I saw there, I thought it was the AFDB Akiomi. No, I was wrong. But the company pioneering this or championing this is called Green Plains Africa. And what are they pretty much doing? They're trying to give Nigerians cooking stoves, clean cook stoves, along with 10,000 naira monthly, current, and they will pilot the program in Lagos. All right. So I was trying to tell maybe just the conference is essentially to bring awareness to people, knowledge and all. So just in case Cross River doesn't know about this, I mean, this is something that is, I think they'll begin the program from June. So the pilot is in Lagos, and subsequent states will come into the conversation. So I would love that Cross River also tap into this. Transport. We know that currently Nigeria is trying to transition from fossil fuel to CNG for cost and because of the removal of subsidy and all. Yes, CNG may not necessarily be a renewable energy kind of, but is actually contributing to low carbon emission, because CNG, I think I actually had it in one of my slides as well, CNG, and then what's it called? Nuclear reactors. Sorry, please, 1 minute. Nuclear energy, pardon, yeah, nuclear energy, both of them actually are, they may not be renewable energy per se, because it's not naturally gotten. Pretty much you have to burn up a particular material for you to get the power, but the end product minimally contributes to the greenhouse gas emission. So that's why they can be factored into this conversation as well. So by replacing petrol and diesel in transportation and power generation, CNG lowers greenhouse gas emission, enhances energy efficiency, and supports environmental sustainability. We have power as well. We have industry. There's a company, I think Mr. Echo yesterday when he was talking, he was talking so much about Kenya. I can tell you for a fact that Nigeria companies are also doing quite a lot already. We have a company here called Planet 3R. Planet 3R is doing a lot in the aspect of producing renewable semiconductors and eco-friendly products such as fashion wear. I was on the internet yesterday trying to get further information on this. You can actually check them out as well. They have some amazing products being done, and they're doing quite well for themselves. Oil and gas as well. Nigeria is trying to reduce on its gas flaring and all. These are what the old transition plan actually captures, right? Can climate finance actually do the magic? No, climate finance can actually do the magic. Can it do the magic? Let's see. Supporting energy access for rural communities, encouraging green infrastructure investment, and enhancing carbon market participation. These three aspects, if correctly looked into, then indeed climate finance can actually do what? The magic. So I have some points to actually, yeah, I thank God I got to this stage in my this lecture. All right, so I said supporting energy access for rural communities. There's a particular movie I watched that actually would make this a whole lot meaningful to us. I will also recommend it. There's a movie called the title The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. This movie is quite important, quite good, and quite interesting. The boy was born into a local community that lacked access to water. To water. And for a particular period, they had what we call drought. There was no water, rainfall, and they were still going to plant because they had to eat. And this boy actually, went on to make what's it called now? An impeller that could help them pump water and then easily, water or irrigate their farmland. You could watch it and then makes better sense for what I'm trying to say here. I also have encouraging green infrastructure investment. I just to action, I say financing energy efficient buildings and sustainable transport systems, like Lagos is doing, and subsidizing the transition to electric vehicles and cleaner industrial processes. Enhancing carbon market participation. I think yesterday someone had also mentioned, talked about carbon market, carbon credits, and all. While I was actually developing this point, when I got to the point where I was trying to, come up with my point around Nigeria trying to reduce on its gas flaring, I began to think of it that, look, come on, can we have most of these IOCs? IOCs will be international oil companies that very well help us to explore and produce this crude oil. Can we have them? Can we have them? Be compelled? No, I don't use compelled. Can we have an understanding with them, right? For business sake, essentially, and for the growth of the economy as well. You're going to flare gas, but you have to what's it called now? You have to agree to carbon credits. You would pay for the amount of particular amount of gas that you contribute to the atmosphere. These gases, remember, contribute to greenhouse emission, right? So if there are flaring gases, releasing these gases to the atmosphere, enriching our lives, right? Can they agree to what? Can we issue some carbon credits to them? Such that we can get some revenue from them. Basically, they do have such plan already. Such structure is in place, but I don't think it is well harnessed. I think there is more to it. The number 2 point I have here is green bonds, and in fact, I can tell us for a fact that myself, this is my interest. Green bonds is another aspect that can help us unlock this carbon market. All right. Nigeria actually, in fact, in Africa, Nigeria is leading, is leading in this regard. Green bond issuing of green bond, government issuing green bond, private institution issuing green bond. I mentioned the other time about Access Bank. Access Bank is doing quite a lot in that regard. Many of this is actually, we have a lot of this actually going on at the moment, right? Yeah. Conclusion and recommendations. My first point here, I said the importance of energy transition. The transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy is a must to achieve sustainable development goals, and that's the truth. Insufficient cooperation of all parties, government, private sector, and community need to work together to achieve renewable energy targets and risk perception. And also, I have investment in research and development. I had mentioned it the other time that we need to, improve on our research and develop. I think there's a particular country I was trying to guess from internet. I can't remember again now. The solar PV that we have presently now. How you lay it, how you have many of the units laid together, harmonized together. A particular country has has a breakthrough in trying to, I think just 1 unit and will be able to give you more unit of electricity. So that's what research and development can actually do. So Nigeria needs to what? Improve on this, and we'll definitely get to where we desire to get to. Thank you very much, Mr. Chibuzo. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Thank you so much. This I would like to end it here. Thank you very much.
Round of applause to Lumide. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. I believe that there are a number of reflections, and I'm going to give you between now and the next 15 minutes for reflection. So, Mr. Kennedy, I saw you putting something in the chat. I think you have some thoughts in reference to what Lumide has shared. I'd like you to share. Okay, Echo, you have your hands raised. Okay, David, you also have your hands raised. So, but first, Kennedy, do you have something to share?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Good day, everyone. And can you hear me?
Oh,
yes, I
very
can hear you.
All right.
Looks like your internet has gone bad. Oh. Okay, maybe we'll get back to you, Mr. Kennedy. Let's hear from Echo now. Echo now, I would like for you to share your thoughts on the presentation.
Okay, so that was an amazing presentation, and it's good to hear you mention of that incredible movie, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And I seriously encourage everyone to try and see how you can watch that movie. It's a very good one. It speaks about the story of how a little boy helped bring up some irrigation, solve the irrigation problem in his local community in Malawi, I think. And when he was speaking, trust me, I really enjoyed every single point he raised. In fact, I give you a clear example because everyone can see the effect of a lack of proper waste management. Because especially in some communities in Nigeria, in the urban centers, some people used to yap those who are staying in Lekki, Nigeria, and say, you people are buying this expensive house, but when it is raining, you now go enter canoe, because of the flood. So we all see the effect of all that. Now, I would love to ask uh, our guests, what kind of messaging should you consider those of us who are in the climate change space now to pass across to people at the lower rung of the society? Because if we are preaching about waste management, oh, don't put this here, they will understand that because they see this happen and affect them over and over. I mean, if you are passing through a box that the waste has been overspilled, it's smelling and stuff, and you want to make awareness, that is very, very clear. But how do you make awareness for the kind of damage that is done to by oil companies to this kind of those in the lower rank of the society? Because Nigeria is not, I dare to say, we are not a research driven society. My mother will not go to a journal to go and read to find out what climate change is, but she would complain about the waste because it's affecting how the drainage system is. So how do we pass messages of the effect of not paying attention to all the things you listed? What kind of messaging do you suggest we pass across to people? I'm particularly interested in, practical examples and how you respond to this. Thanks.
Okay, so before Mr. Lumide responds, I don't know, Mr. Kennedy, would you like to chime in on a response to now question?
Yes. So thank you very much. So when he was talking about those people of the oil spillage, I was just like, that's something I wanted to just talk about. Because the truth is that there have been a lot of research in those areas of climate spillage. And when Olumide talked about those people paying some funds. So what we are facing at the moment right now is that they're actually paying some funds, especially to the communities. And they are, instead of the government going in charge, it's like they are negotiating with the communities. What should we do in case of, should we clear the water or should we give people the money? And the community elders will say, give us the money, instead of using it to actually use to clean those water. So one of my students actually did a research there. They actually paid monies to the community for those clearing. So it is the community elders that did not actually clear those spillage. And the companies are actually paying because there are laws. So what I'm thinking is, the first time when I came to Cross River State, there was something like the green police. I'm thinking that kind of system is something that should be sustained all over Nigeria, because if there's a green police, they go to the community and say, the company and say, you are polluting. Why have you not cleared it? The community will say, company will say, we have given funds to so and so. So they know exactly who the funds is and who is supposed to be responsible for that clearage and that spillage. So that green policing stuff, I think it's something that will help our policy development, and I think it's something that we can push on for government. Then on the part of research, that one I want to ask the question. He said, because the truth is that research is very important, especially for the part of the solar panel that one country is now using just one panel to power. But I think the problem we're having in Nigeria is who will fund those research, because the truth is that most of those research are capital intensive, and sometimes they take a long period of time before actual results is being given, comes out. And most of those people, they have this mindset on investing in the long term. Our politician today is just what they will use to win election, that they have most interest in investing in. So how do we really invest in such research? So those are my contributions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kennedy, for your insights. David Olarewaju, hope I got it right. You have some things to share. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Please kindly confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. So before I go ahead with what I want to say, I first want to appreciate Olumide for that presentation. The slide and everything was just top notch. A lot of information. I learned a lot from the presentation. Thank you and well done, Olumide. So from my own perspective, because I am a petroleum engineer, and I have close to some years of experience in the oil and gas industry, probably around 6-7 years experience. So I am privy to some of the information and what we are talking about, and I'm also an energy enthusiast. So I will be speaking from some areas, and a bulk of it is going to be from the engineering area. So I remember when I was in secondary school, so there was this program we went for in Muson Center. That was I think, was it energy generation? It was, I can't remember. It was sponsored by Shell and ADAS, right? So what they were talking about was how we're going to have sustainable energy for the entire for Nigeria as a whole now. So and the plan was, the reference was 2020. I can't remember the name of the program per se. It was 2020. So this is 2025 now. We are still in energy poverty. So I've seen a lot of cases where people come out, where they do conferences and do so many things, and they talk about different plans, and they say, okay, this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it. And you get to that time and you feel like it is more like a rigor-round, and you just start again and start promising and start saying different things, right? So that's one of the problems I have in Nigeria. So also when it comes to energy transition for Nigeria as a whole, so the way I see it, right, when Nigeria is looking at, when we are looking at energy, we can look at the projection of, okay, what are the energy needs for Nigeria now? But also when we are looking at the energy, when we look at the energy needs for Nigeria based on the population and based on the level of industrialization that is going on in Nigeria now, how about we project it in a case where Nigeria is actually industrialized to the level we are supposed to be? Yeah, I'm sure it is not news to most of us that the bulk of businesses have closed down in Nigeria in the last 2 years. So these businesses, they are also going to need energy. So Nigeria is supposed to be, when countries are talking about energy transition, when countries are talking about energy growth, when they are talking about energy requirement, Nigeria is supposed to be in the class of countries like China. Nigeria is supposed to be in the class of countries like US. Nigeria is supposed to be in the class of countries that have high population. So, so my question is this: when we are looking at energy transition and we are saying we want to focus on renewable energies alone, I know we talk about net zero. So net zero is going to include stuffs like CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and storage. So we are trying to create a balance. So any carbon that goes into the atmosphere, I take it back, because based on the little knowledge I have, I know there are plans for CCUS whereby you capture carbon and send them back into depleted oil reservoir, or probably store them at the bottom water where they are going to go and store as calcium carbonate as surfaces that wouldn't affect the atmosphere. I know there is also that plan there, but when we are talking about energy per capita, the population of this country is very large. We cannot just be talking about things like solar alone. We cannot be talking about things like wind alone, like wind power. So I remember Olumide, while he was talking earlier, he said we don't have geothermal capacity in Nigeria. I understand, yeah, which is very, very right. Unlike countries like Kenya, where it's possible for you to see its coming to the top, where it is possible for you to see its seepage is coming to the top, and they use it to do a lot of their energy generation comes from geothermal. I think Kenya is the country in Africa that uses more of geothermal. Yeah. So when you compare it to like Nigeria, there are always technologies that come. So they are binary approach where you do like a dual system. In as much as all this eco goes in one spring, in as much as you can see the temperature is not really that large. It can be as low as between 20 to 35 degrees C. We can still harness those 20 to 35 degrees C based on the little knowledge I know about binary approach for geothermal energy generation. So it's going to be like for refrigeration cycle, there are refrigerants that they use that are like they have very, very low boiling point. So you are going to use like a dual fluid system, and you are going to create a dual system. So the energy coming from the geothermal itself might not be large, but there's always going to be an energy transfer to another fluid with a low boiling point. So this other fluid is also going to be used to drive a turbine. So you can create dual energy generation from just one system. So that's one area I'm looking at. So when we're also looking at solar in the aspect of a big system, right? So I know we have solar plants that they can use to power some communities in Nigeria and stuff like that. But when you look at countries like China, countries like Brazil, these are countries that have thought of, okay, because when it comes to energy generation, there's also energy transmission. So in your transmission state, when your energy is moving from your substation to your transformer and all that, there are always energy sources, there are always energy losses. So why I know Nigeria might not be there yet, because the countries I mentioned, they are more advanced than us, but these are countries that have explored the option of the direct current grid transmission. So instead of us just doing like a community, we can actually transfer solar energy, wind energy via a long distances, and won't be losing a lot of energy via direct current grid. So it's something that China and Brazil and co are doing. So, and when you are talking about large economies, large countries, they need to, when you are talking about energy generation, you need to look at streams that can generate large energy for you. Nigeria is a populous country. If we reach the peak of our industrialization, we are going to need more energy. Do we think just these renewable energy streams can generate this energy? Nuclear, when it comes to, I believe, a big country like Nigeria, when they are talking about energy transition or energy generation, we should be talking about nuclear energy. I know it's not something we consider, but a big country you are definitely supposed to consider nuclear energy, because it is something that can give you a large amount of energy among the various energy streams. So you can't say you are a big country and you are not talking about nuclear energy. So just to answer a question that was dropped on the chat box, I'm sorry I took a lot of time. So when they're talking about the gas flaring part, when it comes to oil companies, so this is, I think, one of the problems is the fact that the gas penalty for flaring gas is not really as large as it should be. So if it is as high as it should be, so these oil companies will do the economics. So it's all based on the economic. So what is the cost of, okay, either producing this gas and either producing this gas and give it to the industries that need them, or flaring it. So when they do their economy, they find out that flaring the gas is actually cheaper for them. So they'd rather pay the penalty. So this is what the regulatory bodies should do. The NPRCs, the NMPC, the people in charge of the regulation, increase this gas penalty in a way that they cannot pay it. So if they cannot pay it, they don't have any option, because Nigeria is actually a gas nation. When it comes to gas reserve, we are like top 10 in the world. So we shouldn't be flaring those gas. It is our resource. Thank you so much. I think I'm just going to stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. David, for sharing your insights. Mr. Lumide, do you have something to, to add, to lend texture to the entire conversation?
Yeah, for one of time, I'll just speak on a couple of points. David, thank you very much. I mean, you're a brilliant guy. Everybody knows that. And I'm grateful that you were on this call. Mr. Echo now, thank you very much for your contribution as well. Mr. Kennedy as well, thank you so much. I respect you all, and I appreciate your contributions. Mr. Echo now, for your question, your contribution, I think in my perspective, right, I would suggest
Mr. Lumide, are you still there?
sorry.
Okay, the network went, but I think it's better now. We can hear you.
Okay. I was talking about trying to, embolden local communities, because we are the closest to one another, right? So if we can, make what's it called, decentralize the whole effort in actually trying to address, issues with waste, for instance, solid waste, the one that we can actually see, the plastics and all. I believe, and we do it from the local, point of view, or local lens. I think we'll be able to actually address that. Embolden, what's it called now? People who can actually take charge in this regard. We have civil society organizations that are actually doing things in this regard. We can very well, make policies that can, make them strengthen. And those people are closest to the people. I think that way it could very well, go a long way. Honestly speaking, when Mr. Kennedy mentioned and Mr. Ekona actually mentioned oil spillage, I had actually thought about talking about that too in the course of my presentation. Trust me. In fact, I think that would go back to the second slide aside my introduction, where I said, is climate change a hoax or our present reality? Because most of these top world nations, their leaders, I mean, we know of one, all right, who is saying that drill more, drill more, drill more. But in actual fact, beyond the fact that we're talking about climate change and affecting gas, the air that we breathe and all, or depleting the ozone layer, climate change actually has to do with the environment as well, the one we feel, the one we get to relate with. Oil spillage for local communities that actually experience this have the stories they tell about their experience is dire. Like you don't want to listen to them, and you won't take pity, of what they're doing. So, and you now say that there is no, the effect of climate change is not evident. It's actually evident. It's there. So when we now begin to say that it's a ox, drill more, this and that, not putting, I don't think it's the way to go, in my opinion, right? So I really think that there's actually the issue of climate change, and in fact, the issue around oil spillage, it's a top situation that I think we need to actually look into. I know Nigeria is trying to do a lot about that, but it was government will always have its own, barriers set by itself. And if many other people come into that space, perhaps we'll be able to do more. And what David said, I can agree more with you, Mr. David. You made valid points, and they are quite cogent. I think in terms of geothermal, you're correct. Kenya, when I was doing my research, Kenya is the only African country, I think, in top 10 globally, that is in that regard, that actually, is up there in geothermal. I think Nigeria is also there, not in top level, right? But so not too much. And like you said, we can do like a binary system where we have that little energy gotten from geothermal and then use to power, fluids that can very well help us, generate electricity low boiling point, or and they can very well, increase over time in pressure and then deliver in terms of energy. I think that will make sense. And one thing about platform like this is that from here we can develop policies, we can develop what's it called now, documents that can be presented that can very well form the building blocks for policies. So I would like to just rest here, Mr. Chibuzo. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olumide. Thank you. We've had some very interesting conversations come out of this session, and I'm glad. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to have one of our esteemed speakers from Turkey. But before her session begins, I would like for us to watch a short video. I don't know if the Echo Now team is available to help us with that video. I would really want for us to, yeah, thank you, Dahel, thank you. I would really want for us to watch that short video before I read the introduction for our next speaker. It's not audible. I think we could do something with the sound. Hope it's not going to take a long while because we're still not able to hear the audio.
Kindly check your Google Meet mic settings so you can enable
Okay, yeah, thank you.
audio from your own.
Yeah, thank you, Canon, for bringing that up. He's advising that we should check the Google Meet setting for audio. That could help. Okay, I wouldn't want to take much time because I think there is quite a lot we're going to talk about today. I think I would go straight to introducing our next speaker. I know there is quite a lot for us to share, but the next session is going to really, really stir a lot of conversation. So I would want you to be very, very, very attentive as we delve into this next session. It is very key. It is very important. So I read the bio of our next speaker. Sultan Turut Balioglu is a senior energy expert and a lawyer at the Turkish Energy Market Regulatory Authority. She has extensive knowledge of critical infrastructure, particularly in the context of energy security and resilience. With over 15 years of experience in energy market regulation, strategic policy development, and financial analysis, she has gained deep expertise in the sector. She has contributed to regulatory processes, capacity building efforts, and international reports for international and regional organizations. Currently, she has worked on the integration of 34 gigawatts of renewable energy with storage into Turkey's electricity market. She's 2022/2023 Jean Monnet Scholarship Awardee and holds LLM in Energy Law. And so we know that today's session we're in capable hands. Please, I would like us to give a round of applause to Sultan Balioglu, who is also a 2024 Clean Energy Incubator Fellow. Please, a wonderful round of applause as she comes forward. Thank you so much, Sultan. Thank you. The floor is yours. Yeah, we can't hear you. I don't know. I think your audio is mute. I think you could unmute.
Do you hear me now? Because while you're introducing me, I was dropped from internet connection.
Oh, so sorry.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to be part of this important conference on Nigeria's energy transition plan. My name is Sultan Turut Balioğlu, and I am a senior expert and energy lawyer professional in the Energy Market Regulatory Authority of Turkey. I've been working as an expert in this authority, in the EMRA, in short, for over 15 years. And today I'm going to talk about our experience on deploying renewables into the Turkish electricity mix. Now are you gonna share my screen or?
Okay, they could help you to share the screen if you need help.
Okay, that will be much more better. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, I will be sharing the insights from Turkish experience in terms of renewable energy. I just quickly checked about Nigeria's situation comparable to Turkey. While Turkey and Nigeria stands on the almost same surface area, Nigeria is very populous. The Turkey's population is around 8 million, while Nigeria's is 222 at the same surface area, almost same. And when we think about installed electricity capacity, Turkey's installed capacity is around 112 gigawatts, while Nigeria's is just 12, which reveals the very difficult situation in Nigeria when you think about the population, when you think about the electricity access per person. So I will be now. We can go to the we can go to the next. Yeah, we are on the second. No, the previous one, please. Sorry. Now I'd like to talk about key public institutions in Turkey. Yeah, you can see here the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, which is the first and main governmental body in Turkey, who is responsible for carrying out the energy policies nationwide. And the second one is the Energy Market Regulatory Authority, which I work for. And Energy Market Regulatory Authority is responsible for regulating and supervising the electricity market through assessing the applications for renewable energy power plants. And we are granting free licenses and licenses in EMRA. On the third row, you can see the Turkish Electricity Transmission Company, which is a state-owned monopoly company and owns and operates electricity transmission in the country. And in short, TEİAŞ, the transmission system operator company, is also responsible for managing nationwide regional directorates and local dispatches to every house. And on the third row, you can see the EUAŞ, the electricity generation company, owns and operates state-owned power plants. And also there are private generators in Turkey as well. And on the fifth row, you can see the EPİAŞ, the EXIST, which is responsible for operating the day-ahead intraday electricity selling and balancing markets in the country. Now we can pass to the next slide, please. Here you can see sorry, I can't see the screen from, Here you can see the most important scheme that we have used so far. It's Renewable Energy Support Scheme, which is YEKDEM in short, to have a rapid escalation of renewable energy supply. Here, price supports such as feed-in tariffs with long-term contracts have been very effective so far, largely because risks have been transferred from generators and tariffs have been set out generous in many countries, especially at the first phase of ramping up to the renewables in many countries. On the other hand, there are other schemes such as code programs, which was implemented in the United Kingdom in the form of renewables obligation, combined with some forms of tradable carbon certificates. In the case of Turkey, we see YEKDEM to incentivize investors to generate electricity from renewables, and YEKDEM is a guarantees price tariff, which was emerged in 2005 and provide financial support for renewable energy generators. These tariffs are set to provide a purchase guarantee for the term of 10 years to 15 years in Turkey. Now we can go to the next slide, please. Yes, and here you can see the initial phase of YEKDEM. The first version of the YEKDEM offered US dollar denominated purchase guarantees, which was a very generous when it was implemented first. It provided renewable generators with the option to sell electricity at these prices. You can see on the table that the hydro, wind, geothermal, solar, and biomass were supported.
I think we're having challenges with seeing the slides. I don't know. The health team, could you help us with that?
Is it okay if I share my screen? Maybe it might be much more better rather than yours.
I think it will be okay if you share the screen. It will be okay.
Okay, let's try mine.
Okay.
Do you see my screen? Yes. Now we are on the part of initial phase of YEKDEM. Do you see the table here?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if others are seeing it.
Yeah. At the first phase of YEKDEM, hydro, solar, wind, geothermal, and biomass were supported for 10 years. And on the second column, you can see the feed-in tariffs in terms of US dollar cents for kilowatt hour generated and delivered to the system. And on the third row, which is a very important column, you can see the local component incentive, which is very minor when you think about the feed-in tariffs. But this third column created a huge impact in Turkey's local domestic manufacturing of its own solar and wind power plant equipments. Also, it increased job creation. It improved the job skills. Just a little minor in local component incentive created so huge effect in job creation and social impacts that I'm going to talk about on the next slides. And this initial YEKDEM played a substantial role in kickstarting the development of renewables in installed capacity in Turkey, especially in the period between 2016 to 2019. Solar power installed capacity experienced a significant boom with this phase of YEKDEM. You know, because the solar power plants, the manufacturing and operation of them are very easy. You can just build a solar power plant under 1 year, maybe 6 months, 7 months. You can build them and start to produce electricity through them, so that the investors who want to take feed-in tariffs with these generous USD cents denominated prices, they rush to the solar power plants. And by this way, in that term, around 10 gigawatt from solar power plants was built through this YEKDEM incentive. Now you can see the second phase of YEKDEM. Is there a problem? Yeah, do you see this my slide about second phase of YEKTEM?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. Because since I am working on one screen, one camera, I can't check them together. Now, through the second phase of YEKTEM, since there was a depreciation on Turkish lira, the government gave up from US dollar denominated incentives, and the second phase of YEKTEM was introduced in 2021. Under this new system, the feed-in tariff will be paid in Turkish lira, but since the Turkish lira was losing its value very quickly, the investors they were concerned about the cost of return of investment, so that many investors didn't attracted for the second phase of YEKTEM. And we have passed to the last version of YEKTEM. This is the this was introduced on May 2023, and in this last version, the recent version of YEKTEM, feed-in tariff mechanism was revised and extended to better reflect the expectation of the participants and respond to the recent developments in the energy market. Compared to the iteration of the YEKTEM, the latest iteration included an overall hike in feed-in tariffs. You can see the formulation on the bottom. The 60% of the price comes from the US dollar and euro, and also the 40% of price comes from inflation, which is reflected to inflation indexes, so that investors attracted for this phase for this type of YEKTEM implication in Turkey. So now we can see the electricity generation models from renewables here. There are mainly three types of models which is being implemented in Turkey. The first one is licensed model, which is being managed by Energy Market Regulatory Authority of Turkey. Most of the power plants are constructed and operated under licensed model. The investors apply to EMRA, and we have a pre-license period here, which is different than other countries. The investors apply for a pre-license as a first step. After completing the required documents and required procedures during the pre-license period, they can apply for receiving a license and start operating their power plants. Also, on the second box, you can see the unlicensed model. Here, in this model, real persons or legal entities may install renewable energy system generating up to 1 megawatt of energy without any requirement to obtain a license. This model might be implemented in Nigeria as well. Here, under the unlicensed model, the consumers who are able to produce their own electricity are the key role under the model, so that energy communities can be improved under an unlicensed model. Right now, while we have 110 gigawatt of installed capacity, around 10% of installed capacity was built under unlicensed model. Also, on the third box, you can see the renewable energy resources zones, the YEKA model zones. Under this model, the auctions are being held and managed by the Ministry of Energy. And in YEKA model, it's required for auction awardees to build, to manufacture the power plant through the local and domestic equipments, which has a huge impact in terms of social opportunities for the country. Now you can see the progress in installed capacity when you think about the Turkey's improvement. Now for 2025, it's around 112 gigawatt. And what this chart powerfully illustrates is Turkey's successful diversification of its electricity mix and the increasing share of renewables, renewable energy sources, it visually confirms the impact of the trending tools and policies we have discussed, like YEKDEM, like renewable energy power plants, in driving renewable energy growth. For Nigeria, I guess this chart offers a valuable visual lesson. It demonstrates that a sustained strategic effort with supportive policies can lead to a significant shift in the energy mix towards cleaner sources. And here you can see the progress in added capacity installed. While there's a huge improvement in Turkey's installed capacity since the population needs more and more electricity. And you in this slide, you can see the additions, which is made through renewables and fossil fuels. You can see that just 54 gigawatt was made through renewables, and 45 gigawatt was through non-renewable.
I don't know realistic things.
Yeah. I guess. Could you mute someone who is speaking right now?
If you have something to say, I would advise you use the lift of hand emoji to speak. And if your microphone is on and you do not have a question, I would advise that you mute your microphone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And here you can see the added capacity in terms of renewables and non-renewables. While the Turkey's demand on electricity is increasing proportional to its population increase, you can see that we have more and more renewables in the system. And in this chart, you can see the development in terms of wind, solar, geothermal, and biomass from 2008 to 2023. Non-hydro renewable installed capacity in Turkey grew substantially in the last decade due to the continuous government support, particularly through the incentive of YEKDEM. It's around 24 gigawatt, which makes 1/4 of total installed capacity. Also keep in mind that I didn't count the hydropower plants here. The hydropower plants installed capacity makes alone 31 gigawatts. But there is a problem with renewables. We need to take account the capacity factors for renewables. So what's the capacity factor for renewable energy? Simply, it is a measure of how much electricity a power plant actually produces over a period of time compared to its maximum potential output. If it was operated at full capacity, it's expressed as a percentage and utilized more effectively and can produce electricity regularly. But when we talk about the renewable energy, the renewable energy in renewable energy capacity factors vary significantly between different energy sources. You can see here biomass and geothermal produces a regular production through the year, but on the contrary, the wind power plant, and which is shortened as RES here, and solar power plant, which is shortened as JES, they vary very differently throughout the day and the year. This is due to the nature of energy resource itself. The sun, when the sun doesn't shine and when the wind doesn't blow, you can't produce any kind of electricity. So when we think about this, Turkey introduced a new model to diminish the curtailment of renewables. So we have introduced energy storage systems to be deployed in the energy power plants, solar power plants and wind power plants. Here you can see the advantages of the energy storage system. It has many valuable applications across the energy systems. Energy storage systems can provide support for transmission and distribution, as well as minimize the curtailment of renewables. Since renewables different delivery to the system, there is a risk of operating for transmission and distribution. At this point, energy storage systems provide flexibility. And this is the model where I am working for the last 2 years, the renewable power plants with storage systems. Turkish government has introduced this power plants co-located with storage energy systems. Now, by adding storage capabilities, these renewable power plants can ensure a more continuous supply of electricity to the grid. And even when the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining, you can deliver electricity through the storage systems that you have deployed on the power plant. With storage and renewable energy can be better integrated into the grid, so that reducing fluctuations and intermittency issues will fade away very quickly. Here you can see the storage facilities integrated to renewable energy plants, and these are the main provisions that we have implemented in Turkey. For these power plants with storage systems, the storage unit should be on the same site with the generation facility, and the installed capacity of the electricity storage unit may be higher. You can put much more higher capacity of storage rather than the renewable energy power plant. Also, these power plants will be eligible for YEKDEM incentive and local component incentive if they are going to be commissioned up to 2030. By this way, you can trigger the investors to build these renewable power plants earlier than 2030. And energy charge from the grid and discharge from the grid will not be covered by the YEKDEM. At last, the generated electricity must be supplied to the grid through the electricity storage unit. By this way, these power plants will deliver to the electricity system a very regular very regular kilowatt hours. And you can see you can see the role of regulations we have been made on creating ecosystems in Turkey. Currently, numerous private companies in Turkey, produce solar modules and continuously increase production capacities. For instance, as a private company, Kalyon PV factory, with its fully integrated solar module and cell production facilities, stand out from the rest of participants. Right now, Kalyon PV can compete with the Chinese companies. And this is best because stating local component incentives in the YEKDEM in Turkey and local component requirement of YEKA auction models, which is managed by the ministry. At first, you can see the solar module production facility, which is in Ankara at the capital city of Turkey. It is fully integrated solar module production facility and satisfies the requirements of the YEKA auction model. Second, you can see the Smart Solar, which is again a private company, already produces solar modules through its production facilities. You can see number 2 on the map of Turkey. And it aims to manufacture solar cells alongside module manufacturing. On third, again, at the middle of Turkey, in Ankara, there is Pomega Energy Technologies. It invests in battery cells and energy storage systems with a 3 gigawatt-hour capacity facility in Ankara. Pomega plans to produce battery cells and packages, hybrid energy solutions, and EV charging support systems. Phase for 1 gigawatt of the factory was completed at the end of 2023. At 4, you can see the REAP Battery, which is again a private company and is based in Istanbul, plans to offer large-scale energy storage solution systems, aims to start mass production. And at 5, you can see Aspilsan Energy, which is partly private, partly publicly owned. And it is the Aspilsan Energy is Turkey's first lithium-ion battery production facility. And they already gone to mass production from 2022. So here, what would be the key takeaways for Nigeria from Turkey's renewable energy experience? At first, I can see that there is a huge importance of a clear and adaptive regulatory framework for Nigeria. Also, as you can see through the Turkey's experience, a phased and evolving support mechanisms are very effective. When you give so much money, so much incentive to investors, there will be a burden on treasury. But when you keep the incentives very low, you can't attract more investors to the economy, to the electricity market. Also, I can say that diversification of generation models enhances inclusivity and resilience. Keep in mind that there is a licensed model for electricity traders in Turkey, but also there is unlicensed model for prosumers, for the communities who needs electricity. Also, they are able to produce electricity and sell the excess electricity to the system. Also, when we think about the key takeaways, proactive planning and regulation for energy storage is very crucial when you deploy renewables into the system. And 5th, market response is a very important key indicator when you implement policies for your country. This is the end of my presentation, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. So now do well for listening. Thank you so much, Sultan. Thank you so much. It's now time for reflections, and I'm opening the floor to everyone to things to share. Please, I would like you to use the lift of hand emoji. Just lift your hands, and I will give you the room to share your thoughts and your reflections in regards to this presentation we've just had. So now, would you like to say something? Okay. Kennedy, would you like to share thoughts?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, Sultan. I think that was a very nice presentation. I really enjoyed the presentation. So, what I got from that presentation was different energy models that we can start adopting, and I really like the part of the incentives being produced by the Turkish government. So it means that we need to maybe lobby away and talk to our lawmakers in such a way that we need incentives to actually drive this production of electricity, because the truth is that without those incentives, it's hard to get foreign investments and different sectors and individuals to invest into that sector. And without those investments coming out, you see that there is no growth. The truth is that Nigeria has the capacity to grow in that area. So we would look into that and see how we can start advocating and pushing towards investing. Also, one thing I also got was when you talk about a company that started producing lithium battery and now they are going into mass production. The lithium is something we also have in Nigeria. So I believe that is something we can also start looking towards exploring how we can start producing lithium batteries from Nigeria. So that was a very insightful presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kennedy. Thank you. Olumide, you have your hands raised. Yes, Olumide, you had your hands raised. You could share your thoughts. Oh, looks
Yeah.
like the internet.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. So, thank you, Sultan. Thank you very much for your insight. Your presentation was awesome. I listened through from the start to the end of it. I would like to just, share my perspective on the point where I mean, Mr. Kennedy actually mentioned his last thoughts on lithium battery. Um, I would not like to actually take it from the view of Nigeria alone. I would like to take it from the view of Africa, and this is why I said that we are competing against a global economy. Just US alone, US as a country, about the same population, okay, maybe a little bit more than Nigeria, has massive economy, greater than the whole of Africa. The same thing with the UK, the same thing with the France and all. But we have a continent that is grappling, that is striving to meet with its requirement when it comes to providing for its people. So that's why I'm looking at it from the lens of a continent, an African continent as a whole. Lithium is one, aspect of our economy that we can actually look into, right? So and I'm looking at the potential of having countries form collaboration, find a way to actually harness this on this materials that have not been really given thought to. I mean, the other day I was listening to Mr. Adesina, the AFDB president. He was talking about the potential, economical potential in lithium battery. He was talking about what it will do like in 2030, what it will be like in 2050, and it was mind blowing. The figures he was calling out were mind-blowing figures. So I was like, why is African country not looking into all of these places? Why do we have more of the ugly news talked about Africa? We have things that we can turn to wealth for ourselves. So I like the fact that you actually mentioned the lithium battery, the lithium the battery, lithium supported batteries. I think that's a potential point where Nigeria can leverage, Africa can also leverage, and even more than that. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Olumide, for sharing. Anyone else wants to share thoughts? You could use the lift of hand emoji and we would, pick you. Yeah, echo now.
Hello, Sultan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Hello.
hear you.
Okay, so thank you so much for the amazing presentation. Especially, I really paid rapt attention to how you try to connect Nigeria's energy challenge, and the challenge that has, especially considering our population, about over 200 million compared to Turkey, 8 million, you say. And when I did a little bit of research about Turkey, because I wanted to also understand what the 70s were like in Turkey when you are looking at dependency on energy imports and contributing to economic crisis and a political instability at the time. At the moment, I see that there's at least 11% of global geothermal capacity is really from Turkey, as it were. I'm really interested in knowing what your thoughts are in terms of how Turkey was able to move to renewable capacity by 50% in 5 years. I looked at the chart, and I'm really trying to see where does Nigeria fit in. What lessons can we pick from a country that had these challenges in the 70s and now almost leading in 11.5% in having a global thermal capacity. What kind of policy work in Turkey to give you the kind of impact that you've created through your work that you think may have a little bit of contribution to play? Pay attention to where we are at the moment as an African country.
At first, while I didn't give the details for each resources of renewables in the table for YEKTEM charge, for specifically for geothermal, the period for geothermals, for incentives is 15 years, not the others one. While the others were supported through 10 years, geothermals were supported for 15 years. Also, for the other ones, the solar power plants, wind power plants, they had to build in 2 years and start to operate after 2 years after the YEKTEM was announced. But for geothermal power plants, the starting to operation increased to 3 years, so that the investors could build and think about the investment models for operating in geothermals. Also, they would be supported for 15 years, which is a good, when you think about the rate of investment for geothermals. Also, I guess for Turkey, the import dependency for oil and gas has been a huge trigger to switch to renewable energy sources. I guess this is like a curse for Nigeria, because you have a great resources in terms of oil. That's why it might be a little bit harder to switch to renewable energy sources. But when we think about the renewable energy ecosystem, when you try to make a little steps for going local and local components, for going domestic production, you will create you will increase the jobs in terms of renewables. Also, you will have a social impact. You will get an access without depending to import or oil and gas. So it makes a huge impact for renewables, because we have important oil and gas so far, and there was no change in economy itself. But when we think about the renewables, now we can export wind blades, wind towers. Also, Turkey has a 1/3 of export capability of wind blades and towers to European countries. This is why the impact of YEKTEM. This is why, because of the EMRA's policies, which is being implemented up to now for 20 years. And lastly, the project that I am working, the energy storage facilities requirement, had a huge impact in Turkish lithium-ion battery production in Turkey. So just a little steps makes a huge impact in terms of renewables. So this is the case in Turkey. I think it is easily can be applied to Nigeria as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sultan, for sharing that insight. I believe that we've been able to draw a lot from your presentation and to lend texture to what we're trying to drive here in Nigeria. Frida is on the call. I had invited Frida to lend some thoughts to this conversation, and she's just going to, add a thing or two in a few minutes. But I just want to let us know who Frida is. So Frida is a global development specialist with over 5 years of experience in program management, strategic advocacy, and youth engagement in climate resilience, education, and sustainable livelihood. She's an alumna of the Chevening Scholarship, the Community Engagement Exchange Program sponsored by the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, and the Nairobi Summer School on Climate Justice. Frida has worked and volunteered as a youth specialist and climate champion with organizations such as VSO, One Campaign, the Diana Award, and the Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. Currently, she serves as a Green Skills Facilitator, where she hosts the VSO Green Perspective podcasts, leads sustainability and climate-related conversations, and facilitates the VSO Green Lab. Beyond her work with VSO, Frida served as a sustainability representative at the University of Leeds, where she enhanced student engagement in sustainability through campaigns, events, and projects while influencing the university's climate policy. She has been an influential voice at global platforms, including the Rewired Conference in Dubai, Africa Climate Week, and COP26 virtual events on mainstreaming youth in climate policy. Frida holds a master's degree in global development, education in development, and climate security from the University of Leeds and through the Chevening Scholarship. So, Frida, you're on the call. I would like you to share your thoughts and add to our conversation on climate entrepreneurship and Nigeria's energy transition plan.
Thank you so much, Ibuzo, and thank you to every person who joined the call. I think I've been really enjoying the conversation so far, from Olumide's input and then Sultan, and they're even informing maybe what I'm going to share with you on the energy transition, specifically in Nigeria, and also just doing a bit of learning from Kenya, which also Olumide mentioned a bit about it. So I'm just going to touch a bit on the discussions previously, and also my views and opinions on the same, and majorly focus on the environmental consideration for the future in terms of renewable energy, and the importance of the renewable energy, especially for developing countries, with a focus on Nigeria and Kenya. So one of the things that also Lumide highlighted before Sultan was a bit of the renewable energy in Kenya. And one of the things that I would definitely agree is Kenya really prides itself with the transition to renewable energy. It is definitely a leader in Africa for energy use, including geothermal, hydropower, wind, solar, biomass, and biogas. And we currently have an ambition of generating 100% of electricity from clean energy by 2030. Some of our ambitions are also 100% clean energy, by 2030, and then clean cooking by 2028. And those are the things that also were touched on previously. But with these ambitions in Kenya, like, the target is far from being reached. I think we're still facing challenges, I would say, also as Nigeria, in the sense of we have not really transited. And one of the main challenges is ensuring that these renewable energy are also benefiting the most vulnerable, like the rural areas, because we are seeing that most of the benefits that are happening are mostly in the urban area, but people in the rural area are still like far much behind. And it's really hard for us to achieve that our 100% clean energy on 2030. But one of the things that I also want to mention is we have various things that we can tap on, like the Lake Turkana, which is one of the largest wind power in Africa. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on right now, that also Sultan mentioned, I've been working a lot on sustainability, green jobs for young people. And in as much as we are focusing on the just transition or green energy transition, we also need to focus on the benefit it brings economically, especially targeting the future generation, that is young people, that is considering the future environmental wise. And one of the things is the economic benefits. Like, we realize that renewable energy is not just about environment, but it's something beyond that. It is something that advances economic growth, social development, and ultimately energy independence in specifically developing countries. And one of the things that I'm always drawn to when you're talking about renewable energy is the benefit of it to create jobs, especially for young people. And it does have the potential from manufacturing to maintenance along the value chain. And specifically in Kenya, we have the Lake Turkana Wind Power Project, which has created numerous jobs and has advanced local economies. And one of the things the Sultan mentioned is that when you go domestically, in terms of energy access, we can be able to create a number of job opportunities for people. And this can only also happen by making young people or people aware of the available opportunities within the transition or the renewable energy. sector. For instance, one of the things that was mentioned when I joined the call was this movie, The Boy Who Could Harness the Wind. We do believe in the power of young people to have the skills. And when we are advocating for economic benefit, especially for young people in the renewable energy, we need to ensure that young people or youths have the capability to also advance this transformation and economic revolution, ensuring that they are capable of making decisions. They are capable of not being affected by the unreliable or non-existent energy access. These clean energy solutions are easily aligned with the lived realities of the most impacted by energy inequalities. In most cases, it's always the youth and women. When you go to the rural areas, and Kenya is talking about the transition to clean energy 100%. But when you go to rural area, we still have these cultural things, like we do believe that we have to use firewood. So just creating that awareness, going to the local people, ensuring that when we are transiting to the energy, the people on the ground or the most vulnerable, the rural, maybe women, know the need on the benefits of transiting to renewable energy that is 100%, rather than just focusing on it high level. So it's very, very important as we transit to renewable energy in all developing countries, in Nigeria and in Kenya, ensuring that even as we have all these strategies in place, we are not leaving the young people behind, because if we leave them behind, then the transfer of knowledge, the skills won't easily be transmitted, and renewable energy can just be like for a specific period of time or like season. So ensuring that as we move towards renewable energy transition and ensure that our countries are advancing, we are not leaving the young generation behind and even people in the rural areas behind. So that is just my take on the renewable energy transition. And one of the things that I will definitely also mention is the need for having people-centered transition, ensuring that it is very, very inclusive, and it takes into consideration all aspects that make society whole, economically, socially, and politically, and that people are at the center of making decisions that relates to their livelihoods, especially when we are talking about renewable energy, which also includes clean energy transition 100%. That is one of the ambitions of Kenya. So those are some of my opinions to the discussions that I could add today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frida. One of the things I'm excited about these critical conversations that we've been having since yesterday is that it has really given us enough substance to work with after this 3-day event. I'm glad that we had some political leaders join us from yesterday. I know there are a few that I had seen today, but the conversation has really, really triggered a lot of deep thinking. And thank God that the Dahel team recorded this. We have it on record. And there are some of them that want the recording of these conversations. And I'm really glad that after these 3 days that we are working with some political leaders to make sure that these things that we have discussed in paper becomes something practical that would produce real results. And I'm really, really thankful and I'm grateful for that. I know that by 2:30 we should be done, but I'm going to give room for the next session. But if anyone has something to add to what we've discussed, I know most of you that are part of this session have a background in renewable energy or climate work, and that makes the entire conversation quite very interesting. If you have something to share, please remember to use the lift of hand emoji. But for our last session, which I know we have roughly 40 minutes to the end of the session, and also know that by the time the next speaker speaks, there is going to be a lot of conversation around what he's going to talk about, because he's going to talk about sustainable homes. And I am glad that he's here to speak. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Iwochukwu Daniel Chimampa. He's an architect and a sprightly leadership trainer. and an advocate for sustainable cities and communities. He's a certified lead for Cities and Communities Pro. He's a leadership fellow from George Mason University, Virginia, and a UPG sustainability leader from the Hurricane Island Center of Science and Leadership. He's also a US Department of State Exchange alumni. Daniel is a recipient of the prestigious NYC Presidential Honors Award, and he's the founder of the Community Representatives Community. He's passionate about building a sustainable environment, environmental justice, and strives to promote sustainability through his work. He's also a speaker in leadership seminars and trainings. His leadership resources cut across religious, organizational, civic society, and personal leadership themes. Daniel recently concluded his tenure as a country ambassador representing youth opportunities in Nigeria. And he currently works as an architect with the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development headquarters. So I would like us to give Mr. Daniel Iwuchukwu a wonderful round of applause as he speaks to us on sustainable homes. I would like to, get insight into that. And I believe that we're going to say a whole lot. So this is why I'm glad that we have some ample time before we close by 2:30. So Mr. Daniel, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Can I be sure that I'm audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
And can I be sure that you can see my screen? I'm coming, just in me, please. Just a minute, please. Okay. Can you see my screen, please?
I think I'm not seeing it, but I don't know if others can see it. Olumide, can you see the screen?
No.
Okay.
Hello, can you see my screen?
Okay, we still can't see your screen.
How about now? Can you see my screen now?
It's still the same. We can't see. The help team, I don't know if you can help. If you can send the slide to me on WhatsApp, and then I can forward it to the health team. They could help with it.
Hello, please. Can you see my screen now? You sure you can see my screen?
No, we still can't see your screen. If you could send the slides to me on WhatsApp, the health team could help with sharing the screen.
Hello. Okay, I can send.
Okay.
All right, let me do that. Let me do that right now. So sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, let me send my slide right now. Okay, Mr. Chibuzo, I just sent you my slide. Can you please confirm?
On WhatsApp, right?
Mr. Chibuzo, I just sent my slides. Can you confirm that?
Is it on WhatsApp?
On WhatsApp, yes.
Okay, I'm yet to see it, but I would let you know as soon as it drops.
Okay. I'm so sorry for
No
delay.
problem. If you could, okay, I've seen it. Okay, great. Yeah, it's technology. We know things happen at times.
All right.
So
All right, please, can you confirm that you
sending.
have my slide?
Okay, so I'm forwarding it to the DiHealth team.
Hello, sorry, can you hear me now? Hello, team. Can you hear me? Right. While the Zahel team is going on, trying to process my slide, I will just go ahead to speak, and I believe they will catch up with me. So, sorry for the delay. So today we are talking about innovative homes and cost-effective energy alternatives. And yesterday, Mr. Chibuzo said something that was very striking. He said we have to, I'm paraphrasing right now, he said we have to understand climate change outside from planting of trees, which has actually been what many persons know about. Funny enough, even persons that are into the climate change advocacies, all they know is plant trees, or at best they talk about plastic pollution and all. But then when we begin to deep and we begin to see the different branches of climate change and its advocacies. And so today we're talking about sustainable architecture. And if you don't have my slides, so I just go ahead and just go through my slides. So as the global population continues to grow, there is also a corresponding increase in the need for shelter, which in turn impacts the environment. Now, the concern is no longer just the provision of shelter, but providing it in a sustained manner, which entails creating a synergy between the need for accommodation and comfort on the other hand, and natural resources and ecological preservation, on which the survival of the future generation depends on the other hand. So you see, we are moving shelters from the traditional way to creating it in such a way sustainable. You see, so researchers have shown that the built environment is responsible for 50% of carbon emissions in developed countries like the UK, and 40% of global electricity generation is being consumed by buildings and its occupants. So the need to reduce carbon emission and energy consumption in building has led to research and establishment of different rating systems, just like have the EDGE, which is efficient excellence in design and for greater efficiency. We have the which is leadership in energy and environmental design. We have BREEAM, we have SBAT, and so on. So these two actually develop as a means to assessing proposed building projects and retrofitting existing ones to conform with established sustainable architectural standards that are geared towards achieving global zero carbon emissions by the year 2050. Now, I'm speaking from a global standpoint right now. So the Nigeria ETP is for 2060. Once again, can I confirm that you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. The slides will be up. The team will help with the slides in just a few minutes, but we're with you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I wish we had my slide because I was going to actually work with it, but I just trust that we are able to do that very quickly. So I was actually, asked to speak about sustainable architecture, and then, I will still have to talk about, innovative homes, which actually is an expression of architecture in itself. So while sustainable architecture is an approach to designing and constructing buildings that minimizes, negative environmental impacts while maximizing energy efficiency, resource conservation, and occupant well-being. Green. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about sustainable architecture as well as an expression of it, which is green buildings, right? Because since we are talking about innovative homes, we have to streamline the architecture we are talking about now to a building. So because architecture by definition is actually a broad expression, it's a science of designing, of maintaining, of managing, of coordinating allied input for buildings that forms a comprehensive institution, right? And neighborhood and an establishment, or so it's actually broad. But today I really want us to focus on one aspect of that, of architecture, which is green building. And one of the key principles we discuss about is energy efficiency in building, eco-friendly materials, water conservation, waste reduction, indoor environmental quality, resilience, and adaptability. Now, I'd like to ask us a question. How much time do we think we spend within four walls? You can put it in the chat box. How much time do you think we spend within four walls? Whether it's your... Okay, thank you, the healthy. Thank you so much. Even though I'm yet to see the slide. Can we see the slide now?
Yeah, the slide is up.
Mr. Chibuzo, please confirm if the slide is visible, because I can't see it. But
it's visible. It's visible
up
from our end.
Okay.
It's visible from our end. Maybe from your end there is internet challenge. Yeah, but from our end we can see. So maybe what you could do is, while you view the slides from your end, page 1, page 2. If you mention page 2 or page 3, they would know what to do. So at least we're on the same page.
I can see the slide right now. Thank you so much. So let's jump to page 4, please. Page 4. So I asked the question. Did that help team? Can you make it full screen, because you're actually exposing the next slide? I really want us to, I want to hear our opinion. So if you could make the slide a full screen, such that the tabs on the left-hand side is not visible. So we'll just work with that. I don't know if it's possible. Anyways, so I was asking a question. How much of time do you think we spend within a 4 walls? Because, we need to really understand why we say that buildings are actually responsible for, carbon emission too. Some persons just think that carbon emissions, when we talk about planting of trees, our mind is focused on the surrounding environment. So we pay more attention to ensuring that trees are planted, certain things occur within those areas, and we forget that even our buildings emit carbon. So it's not okay. I think
there are hilarious comments in the chat.
Okay.
In response to your question.
Let me check that.
Those in Lagos say they spend most of their time in traffic as opposed to within 4 walls.
Okay, let's have politicians as to spend more time in traffic. Okay. I think that is peculiar to you guys. You actually decided to live in Lagos. but truth is this, you don't actually spend more time on the road. So let's move to the next slide. Is that helping? So actually we spend, 90% of our time within 4 walls. So let's just paint this picture. See yourself waking up in the morning, and then you move out, you're trying to go to work. You bought a vehicle, and it takes you, say, more or less 1 hour to get to your office, except for Lagosians, please, except for Lagosians. It takes you 1 hour to get to your office, and then you highlight from your vehicle and go back into a building, your office right now, and you spend, say, you work from 8 hours to 4 p.m., and then by 4 p.m., 5 o'clock, you've closed, and you're in transit again, trying to navigate down home, and you get back home, you rest, you cook, and you do all these other resting parts within the 4 walls, and you sleep, and the next morning you're out again. You see, most of our time we spend it within 4 walls. And so you then see that within that 4 walls that we spend our time, we do a lot of activities, both from using appliances to, using waters to doing a number of things. Those things, those activities contribute, makes our building to contribute now to, carbon emission and all that. Next slide, please. Consumption, and they generate about 39% of the world's greenhouse gas footprint. And so 55% of the world's population live in urban areas, which is expected to rise to 68% by 2050. Now, if you look at energy use in building, of course, electricity is all right. All right, thank you. Just leave it at this point. So you know that electricity is the most popular energy type, and its use is projected to also increase. Now, if you look at the picture in front of us, which of these building is a green building? From your own understanding, from your experiences, which of these building is a green building? Can I see responses in the chat box? Which of these building is a green building? Hello, guys. I know that we know this. So let's just give us an answer. Look at these buildings closely and tell me which of these building is a green building. E. Someone said E. Okay. Someone said G. G. Okay. Someone said who's going next? I have like 21 response now, because we are all allied professionals. Okay, so I think it's just 2 persons that we are. Okay, 3 persons now. Someone says C. Someone said C. All right. One more answer. Okay, one person said A or G. Thank you very much. Now, next slide. Next slide. I see we've all tried our best to express it. So now, what is a green building? Let's see. Next slide, please. Exactly. So the truth is this: you can't actually truly say which building is green until they have gone through a rating process. You can't actually fully say this building is green. If you look at those buildings, as a matter of fact, they are all green in some way, because they have an element of being green. But the first person that spoke said E, and I understand that is because of he's seen flowers, he's seen planting of trees and all that, biophilic plant in and around the building, and that's understandable too. But then that is the general knowledge every other person has of a green building. So when you say a green building, they are looking at a building that has multiple palm trees, because of the fact that the plants, right, they take in carbon dioxide and take out oxygen, and that's all best they know. But let's look at the definition by the World Bank. It said, according to the World Bank, a green building is a building that uses 20% less energy, 20% less water, and 20% less embodied energy in materials compared to the equivalent local benchmark. Now, I'm going to, okay, in simple words, we can say green building is a building that is resource efficient and has a low carbon footprint. Let me break this down a little bit. Anyways, we might not be able to go so deep into this right now because it takes a rating system to actually arrive at this. So like I had said earlier from the previous slide, that there are different rating systems. But what the World Bank used in making this definition is the excellence design for greater efficiency rating system, which is the EDGE rating system. But generally, we understand that there's what is called embodied carbon in materials. So you see, for instance, and that's why we talk about using, as we go further, we're going to learn about that. That's why we talk about using sustainable materials to build, because when we use non-sustainable materials, those materials has what is called embodied carbon because of the manufacturing process it went through. So for some materials, building materials that went through certain manufacturing processes that emit a lot of GHG gases, right? We have to calculate those gases emitted by the production of these materials into the material when it's being used in the building. I don't know if you're getting the point, right? So for instance, if cement takes and say X amount of, or it emits X amount of GHG gas to the atmosphere, if we decide to use an alternative materials to cement, right? Over time, we are able to now realize what we've saved in terms of carbon emission. So that's what embodied carbon talk here about. So I said here in simple terms, you can say green building is a building that is resource efficient and has a low carbon footprint. Now it starts with the design, but we'll get on there. So green buildings comes in all shapes and sizes and are not always obvious from the outside. I had said that they are not always obvious from the outside. They actually deliver environmental benefits through resource efficiency. The defining feature of a green building is a significant reduction in environmental impact by A, reducing carbon, reducing consumption in material, water, and energy. B, reducing air, water, and land pollution. C, reducing disturbance to local ecology and biodiversity. Right. Okay, let's just, okay, it says here, green design can typically reduce energy use, carbon emissions, water use, and materials by 20 to 80%. And this really rests on, the design of this building. Let's go to the next slide. So the principal rule for energy efficiency remains constant. Overall, for all sectors, the principal rule to achieve energy efficiency is to start with good design to reduce the need for electricity and fossil fuel. And I don't know if I should even jump ahead of myself to expatiate on this point right now, because one of the challenges I'll still talk about it, but one of the challenges we have when it comes to building innovative home and energy efficient home and homes with low carbon footprint is actually the professionals themselves. Our Nigerian terrain, the schools we have right now are still, sorry to state, they are still very backward when it comes to this. Many young students, I work with IT students in my office, from time to time, when they come around, I try to put them through green designs. And for many of them, they've never heard of it. So right now, what the curriculum is still teaching is curriculum of a long time ago. And these young persons, I know Frida mentioned something like that. She said, let me paraphrase her statement, but she was talking about investing as we transit, we should invest in the younger generations, right? So investing in the younger generations means using global acceptable standards to train these professionals. You can imagine young people that are in the 300 levels, some of them almost in their final years, have not heard about green design. What are they coming out to practice? Right? They don't have an idea at all. So we talked about it starts from design. And even moving away from the student themselves, even professionals practicing in the Nigeria climate right now, you see, many of them haven't even heard of it. Or some of them have just stumbled across it here or there, maybe just saw it in the news, and they don't really have an understanding of how it goes. And then now tell me, how can they be able to pitch this to clients? How can they be able to, help, incorporate this in their own designs? So I said they start from a good design to reduce the need for electricity and fossil fuel. There's a lot that the design can do to reduce the need for fossil fuels and electricity in a building. From your design, your anthropometrics, that's what is called anthropometrics, from your specifications of materials to be used. Sorry, I think I've lost the slide. If you could bring it up again. From the specifications of materials to be used, you can actually passively curb the need, the load of that you might need for electricity to power appliances for the sake of heating or cooling purposes. So it starts from design. I keep saying that. Please, I think I lost your slide. Can you just put it all back? Or I'll just go back to my own. All right.
Now that the health is trying to.
So I said it starts from good
I think
design, improved operations, and renewable resources. Yes. I thank you, sir, for that. Yes. So if you look, okay, you don't have the slide, so you might not be able to understand what I'm saying at this point with this chart. But then I'm saying it starts from the architecture to the building services, on-site renewables, off-site renewables, grid and gas, etc. So now it's not just the architect or the civil engineer that has his role to play. Remember when I defined architecture, I said that architecture is a science of designing, of erecting, of maintaining, of managing, of coordinating allied inputs. What that means is that the architect coordinates allied input. Allied input here is other professionals to what he has actually designed. He has to coordinate them to achieve that. And now, if these allied inputs are not green experts also, you see there's going to be a sort of break in communication, right? And so in talking about energy efficiency for homes right now, we really need to start from the grassroots, where the home starts from. That is from the concept, from the idea of the architect, and then now to the professionals that look into these ideas and see how to erect it. If every one of those persons are not green, minded, then you already have a traditional building just about to be done, right? Now, in the next slide, I said, what are the features of a green building? I talked about reduced wall to window to wall ratio. Let me know if you have this slide back. Okay, yes. So I talked about reduced window to wall ratio. It takes a professional to actually understand this part of it. You see, when we talk about reduced window to wall ratio, that is it's a phase, it's something that we conceptualize at the point of design. One of the things you understand is that heat flows through plain glass window more, like 10 times faster than it does through a wall. You see? So if, for instance, an architect is doing a design and you see most of his wall wall areas, he opens it up for windows. You then see that you might begin to have thermal discomfort in that building. Because like I said, heat flows through a plain glass window 10 times more than it flows through a wall. Now, I will press break here to say something very important, because one of the things I've seen among even green architects is that some of them don't really understand the concept so well. So they just go online and browse, and they see a green building built somewhere in Russia or somewhere, in the cold region, and then they are bringing it back home here. But there's uniqueness to green buildings actually, because of we operate from different temperate regions. I mean, we operate from different climate regions, I mean to say. So for Nigeria, we are in the tropics. And even in the tropics that Nigeria in, there are different climatic zones within Nigeria. So for a house in Russia, one of the factors they might be looking at is heating load. Why in Nigeria, a temperate part zone in Nigeria might be looking at cooling load. It's two different things. What I mean by heating load is that, so for the fact that that place is cold, the design is such a way, to limit the way heat escapes out of their building. But for us here, we design in such a way to limit the way heat, seeps through our building. We want to retain cold, a cold interior. You see that? So I just use that to cite an example right now, that even for the green buildings, it is not generic. It's not generic. You have to really understand thoroughly you need to understand the ideas of green building relative to your own environment. You see that? So here I said window to wall ratio. We have, talking about the futures of green building right now, we have the reflective paint and tiles for the roof, higher performance glass. I think I don't have so much time to really talk so much on this, but yeah, you can just look at all that. Then for the water saving, we have low flush shower heads and faucets. We have what that is, there has been argument on this particular feature, because some persons say, so now the low flow shower heads and faucet, what that does is that when it's being fit, it does not really allow water to rush in such a way that it can be wasteful. It allows water to rush in such a way that it can be useful for you to bath, to do what you have to do, but it does not rush in such a way that, when you just go and you're feeling the pressure of water coming out from your shower head, and you're just enjoying the feeling, but then you're also enjoying the waste and the damage it's causing. You see that? So these are specifications that the architect can give when he does his design, to ensure water efficiency, right? We also have dual flush for water closets. Funny enough, this dual flush in Nigeria here, the other day I was in a seminar with architects. Architects and allied professionals, and presenter was talking about this dual flush for water closet, and an architect said, that this dual flush, man, they press the two. Like he said, he used to press the both of them down. He didn't really know that one of those buttons, I don't know if you guys even know what I'm talking about, a dual flush water closet. So when you go to use the restroom, sometimes you see a water closet that has a big button and a smaller button. Now, the smaller button, it's for when you just urinated or you just eased yourself, and the bigger button is for when you defecated. So these two buttons allow for different liters of water to come out from the closet. So you can imagine a professional telling you that he uses the both of them. Like after he used the small one, he pressed the big one, or he pressed both of them together. You see, I was talking about the fact that even allied professionals are not even informed about these things. We have the rainwater versus gray water for flushing, then waterless urinals. I don't know if you've heard about it. there are urinals that are waterless. When you use yourself, it does not give water to yourself. I talked about materials, bamboo, compressed head blocks, and so on. Here, please, next slide. Let's just move quickly to see if we can finish this. Next slide. Okay, let me just move. So why is it important in developing economies like Nigeria? Why is it important that we have green buildings or we practice sustainable architecture? So sustainable architecture is a crucial solution to the growing environmental, economic, and social challenges faced by developing countries like Nigeria. With rapid urbanization, population growth, and climate change concerns, Nigeria must embrace eco-friendly building practices to ensure a resilient and sustainable future. Here, we explore the significance of sustainable architecture in Nigeria and its potential to transform the country's built environment. Right. So we want to look a bit of why it's so important that we practice this. So the first importance I said here is addressing climate change and environmental degradation. Oh, okay. I think I don't really have so much time now, but I want to really finish my slide. So let me just rush through and read through. So Nigeria is experiencing the effect of climate change, including extreme heat, flooding, and desertification. Conventional construction methods contribute significantly to deforestation, carbon emissions, and waste production. Sustainable architecture promotes energy efficiency designs that reduce resilience on fossil fuels, eco-friendly materials such as bamboo, compressed head blocks, and recycled materials to reduce deforestation. Sorry, let me just rush through to, I believe I can actually share this slide if need be, but I want to really talk about something. So, but then this is the second reason why we should, adopt this method. I mean, sustainable architecture right now, energy efficiency and reducing power challenges. Number three is affordable and durable housing solutions. 4 is job creation and economic growth. 5 is health and well-being benefits. Now, I want to talk about this. If there is so much value in green buildings, why are we not building green and financing green? I don't know. Are you there on the slide with me? Let's move forward, please. Move forward. Move forward. Move forward. Exactly. Let's stay here. So if there's so much value in green buildings, why are we not building and financing green? This is a very, very serious problem. I have named a number of reasons here. One I said is misperception of what green buildings are. Inexperienced developer overestimate costs. Actually, in the private sector, I work with the government, but then I see, interface with private sectors. Private sector players right now, and many of them, because of their actually inexperience, they overestimate, the cost of this. It is agreed that there is actually an initial, higher cost for green buildings actually, but then there's a payback period, right? Say for the edge model, they will tell you the payback period is around 3 years, but generally we believe, or what is actually practicable is that the payback period is between 2 years to 8 years or 10 years, right? And that is, for me, it's actually good enough, right? So the second reason is resistance to change. The fear of the risks associated with embracing a new concept. Many persons are just scared. They don't just want to try it at all. Both in the private sector and even, unfortunately, even in the government parastatal. Many people, don't really want to a government parastatal to, make a few take a few steps towards it, but we've not really been able to do much, actually, if I'm going to speak frankly. And that's why some of us are here really trying to push this forward. So another reason is affordability, the perception of initial cost, which, like I said, is actually true. Please, next slide, number 4. Number 4 is slide, please. Next slide. Okay, you're not with me. Let me just. So, next slide is lack of legislation. And I said there is lack of enforcement and monitoring of green policies. Right. See, when it comes to green buildings, right, there is a lot that can do. There's lack of. The truth is this: there are few policies that support green and sustainable development. I mean, in Nigeria right now, but the enforcement rate is so low. It's so low. I work with the ministry, and even at this point, part of my work here is actually to vet drawings. What that means is that before any drawing is being built in this city, I mean in Abuja right here, it comes through the ministry and through my department, and then we look at it to ensure that it aligns with the guidelines of, I mean, the building code of the Abuja territory right now. But if you look at those checklists of the building code, there is little or no checklist that borders around green buildings. And up to this point, we still let go buildings that are not, energy efficient and not smart buildings. I mean, smart home with low carbon footprint. We still let them go, right? Because these legislations that they are just on paper, right? But like I said, many of us here, I mean, some of us here are still putting our foot forward to ensuring that this stuff become a real thing, I mean, in practice right now. So another point is this: the reason why we are not really building green is awareness. There's huge gap in public awareness. Like I said, even the professionals are not even aware of certain things. Not to talk about the public. Meaning, sometimes I talk with my own personal clients, and trying to convince them. They've heard of it before. They'll say, okay, hold on, let me browse. Hold on, let me ask my friend. Okay, I have a friend in the US, let me ask them. So many persons are unsure, they are not really aware and all that. So there's a need for awareness. Even in our school systems, you see that. I'm just trying to rush, so sorry. Number 6 is availability of materials, unavailability of local materials and other components, and high cost of imported green building materials. This also is a very huge discouragement. Next slide, please. Is a very huge discouragement that makes people not to embrace this at this point. Mr. Chibuzo, I'm sorry, I didn't really plan to eat so much of our time, but it looks like I'm doing that already. But let me just go through. So, lack of technical know-how, lack of government incentives. How does this contribute to Nigeria's energy transition plan? It contributes by reducing energy demand through efficiency. Number 2, it contributes by promoting renewable energy integration. It contributes by lowering carbon emissions in the construction sector. It contributes by enhanced energy access and affordability. And that brings me to the end. I'm so sorry I had to rush through just to keep with time. I couldn't really, expatiate on each of those points very well. But I think I would like to stop here. Thank you so much. Hello, Mr. Chibuza, can you hear me? Oh, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you so much,
Chibuzo, I
Mr.
just finished
Daniel.
my
I experienced some serious internet disconnection, and I was struggling to get in. But thank you. I don't know. It's like you finished not too long ago, but thank you for that very riveting session. I see that Africa Real Estate has either a question or a comment. Please, you could speak up. The floor is over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chibuzo, or the last facilitator. Thank you very much for the insightful lecture you delivered. It's something that personally resonates with me, and that's why I made a note. You deliver excellently, but I have some gray areas to talk about in your presentation. When you said overestimation of costs, especially making illustration of private developers like us. The challenge of going green is actually on affordability. like your point number three, if I still get it right, especially in terms of immediate high cost. As a developer, presently, I have a project that I wanted to integrate green, take it off grid in Kano State, but the cost of installation is very high, and it's difficult for you to convince the obstacles that this will have a long-term benefit for them, and also the lack of government incentive. So how do you think we can actually bridge this knowledge gap from the obstacles, and also rally around the government to enable them to come in subsidizing this green building? So thank you.
All right. Thank you for your question. So let me just go ahead and to answer that. The truth is that, like I said, that there's actually a high initial cost when it comes to going green. But another truth is that many private developers that I have seen overestimate. That is just a simple truth. I don't know. We are in Nigeria. Many of us want to make profit from exactly everything. And for the fact that we are climate conscious, for me, I will tell you, we are pioneers of this move here in Nigeria. We don't really have to, you know, overshoot these prices, right? We don't really have to. So people want to make extra gains. So sometimes they just see that, okay, this man wants to go green. It means he has so much of money, and then he should be able to afford certain things, and blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. They just take the price high. I'm saying this as someone that has a first-hand experience with some of these guys, right? And the second thing you mentioned about convincing a client is that one of the things I will advise you, if you've not done already, because many of the challenges rest within this area, is that you as a developer, you yourself or a member of your team should first of all be a green expert. Many persons are not green experts, like they've not really gone through the training. There is a way to come up with these figures. There's a way to come up with these proposals, right? You get trained on how what you should highlight, what you should bring to the note. Okay, I was still trying to end my point, but then I believe my point has been understood. Thank you, Mr. Chibuzin.
So good day, everyone. My name is Igor Temu. Mr. Chipuzo is having challenges joining the meeting back. He's dropped a message in the WhatsApp forum, and he says thank you to all the speakers for their insightful view in all the topics. And he says thank you for participating in today's session, and I will meet again tomorrow. So we'll end the meeting now. He apologizes for not being able to join again. So we'll see you all tomorrow by 12 o'clock. Yeah, you want to say something?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, please. Sorry. I say request, please. I want to connect with the last speaker, please.
You want to what?
I want to network with the last speaker.
Are you in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, so you can probably make a request there.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone.